Yeah. So let's talk about politics and your time in office. So what inspired you to run for office, and then what made you decide to leave politics?
Yeah, well, I ran for office, and it just, just personal thing for what was important to me. I ran because I wanted to spend less time with my family. And and, and I mean, and my slogan was a stand-up comedian who stands up for us. But no, I've always wanted to do public service, um and actually one of the main reasons in the far back of my mind, well, no, it wasn't far back in my mind. It was about marriage equality, that I wanted to work on that. But also, but I say it's far back in my mind because, like, yeah, right, like that's ever going to happen in my lifetime. And said, well, but I'm sure there's lots of other good things I could do. And when you're first running for office, you don't really get to pick what issues you get to work on. You go into the legislature and you're put on a committee, or other just issues come up. Sometimes you could try to do things. Also, when I ran healthcare, was a big issue that I wanted to work on. But as it worked out in the legislature, my my district mate, which is just someone else who served with me from the same area of Burlington, was leading the healthcare debate, and he was the chair of the healthcare committee. So I wasn't even it wasn't even a consideration that I would get to serve on that committee. But I went to the legislature, and there's a lot of bills that I got to have an influence on, which was amazing. And to be able to say, I killed that bill, or I wrote that bill. And but all politics it's a team sport. There's no one person that does anything all by themselves, even a governor or a president. You need to pass it through legislation and whatnot. But I did get to work on some really cool prison reform, and finding ways to save money and increase safety. And part of that was around finding ways to reserve prisons for people that we're scared of, not people that we're mad at. And also, just bringing in experts and finding alternatives to prison that are actually more effective at reducing crime and cost less. And as a society, we overuse prisons. The United States is off the charts when it comes to putting people in prison, and we don't get good results from it. But we just feel like, oh, this will work. But there have been studies that show that 4% of crimes result in someone being put in prison. And because, one, the person has to be caught, one, they have to be tried, one, they have to win the case, and then, then they can barter down or on their, and when you get to all of that, then, it's only 4%. So if we're putting people in prison, 4% of the time that crimes happen, that's a drop in the bucket about, is that really going to change things? And then you factor in, when people do go to prison, that who are they there with? Oh, other people who have committed offenses. So they're going to be learning from those people. That's going to be their cohort. And so it's a great training ground for criminal activity. And plus we're locking them up. We're telling them that they're useless. We're treating them unreasonably, as the way we would normally treat human beings. And then when we leave them out, we're like, all right, you're out on your own. Be successful.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we haven't treated, their drug problems or their mental health issues, which is a big proportion of who's in prison. Not to mention the incredible racism, and that people of color are so much more put in prison than white folks. And And so it's just a losing proposition. It just doesn't work the way that we had intended it. So I did a lot of work on that, and I felt good about that. But I also got to work on marriage equality, and I got to have an impact on that, and that was really important to me, as well as working a lot on trans rights for transgender folks to have non-discrimination policy and also have gender-neutral bathrooms, and then I also did a lot of work on the economic front and in creating benefit corporations and raising the minimum wage and doing a lot of other things. So it was a great experience. And then after 8 years, it was kind of time to move on. And so I decided not to seek re-election and come back to my business, which I absolutely love. But I do stay in touch with my friends and colleagues, and I also do a lot of work with this group called Emerge, which trains Democratic women to run for and win office. And so that also has a lot of meaning for me.